American Kirby is hardcore is a way to describe an interesting case of localization, and that is whenever pieces of media are often modified in order to fit in with the region. The major example that everyone thinks about this trope is, of course, the character in which the trope is named after, Kirby. In Japan, Kirby will usually be depicted as, cute and sweet, while America decided to make Kirby more aggressive, tough, and badass, as you can see in these weird curse commercials. For example, take the game Kirby's Canvas Curse. In Japan, we like Grimmett Gymnastics. In America, we like Giant Fingers. Everyone knows how the adorable Kirby was made aggressive in America. But today, let's talk about a video game character that suffered the complete opposite, where he was made to look more cuddly and adorable in Japan. Crash. No, not that one. Crash Bandicoot. I present to you Japanese Crash is kawaii because obviously he looks a lot more adorable and cutesy compared to what he normally looks like internationally. Now, just as heads up, I had never played a Crash Bandicoot game in my entire life. So, in order to do this video, I had to watch people's reviews on some of the games, as well as searching information on the internet. After all, it's always important to do research. Otherwise, you're gonna be like the Super Mario fan base where they always take things out of Cortex. Our story begins in 1996 when the original game was released for the original PlayStation and it was ultimately a massive success internationally. However, by the time we arrived into Japan, there was one problem. Something that made the original Crash Bandicoot so popular would be its wacky and cartoony character designs. But Sony and Japan felt that these designs looked too aggressive for the Japanese marketing. If you couldn't tell, Japan really likes things that are, cute, cuddly, and overall just fitting with the whole kawaii aesthetic like Kirby. So if Sony wanted Crash Bandicoot to sell well in Japan, they needed to modify him for the box arts. Boom, here's the Japanese cover art for Crash Bandicoot. Notice that Crash looks incredibly different than what he looks in America, when the most notable difference is that his eyes had a Pac-Man style shape. Obviously, the bots arts were changed so that Crash, his allies, and enemies would look more cuddly and cutesy in Japan. But as for the games themselves, they remain the same with some minor changes. For example, in Crash Bandicoot Warp, Crash's icon was changed so that he would no longer stick his tongue at you, and instead he simply has his mouth closed while having his eyes crossed because, I don't know, I guess sticking your tongue is too aggressive for the Japanese market. But by far the most interesting change that Japan has done to the games themselves would be a death animation in Crash Bandicoot 2. The particular death animation was a Crash getting crushed by some hazards. In Japan, this was modified so that he would be completely flat because at the time there were a series of murderers who would leave those deceased people with only their heads and feet, and yep, it sounds pretty fucked up as you can imagine. Side note, in case if you're wondering how Kirby was unaffected by this, it's because this is already his default appearance. It's not like Crash where he has a full-on body. Oh, sorry, I'm not done with Crash Bandicoot 2, no, because in the Japanese version, if you press a specific code while booting up the game, you get to watch this bizarre and strange music video accompanying with the Crash Bandicoot Japanese theme, which is also the one that you're listening right now in this video. Boy, sure, Crash received a lot of weird changes in Japan, but now let's fast forward to the glorious year of 2001, where we saw the release of the Wrath of Cortex, the very first Crash Bandicoot game to be released in more than just Sony consoles. Alright, I'm going to talk a lot about the Wrath of Cortex because this was the Crash Bandicoot game of my brother's childhood. In fact, this was his only Crash Bandicoot game, specifically with the GameCube version. Speaking of which... All three versions use the exact same nostalgic box art of Crash in the mecha suit, Cortex appearing in a video screen, and the silhouette of Crunch arriving in the space station. In Japan, the PlayStation 2 cover art uses a different angle of Crash in the mecha suit, Crunch is now visible, and Coco is present. Off topic, but the Japanese release date for the PlayStation 2 version was December 20th, 2001. One day before December 21st, 2001. Hey, wait a minute, why did I specifically just mention the PlayStation 2 version? Well, my lovely viewers, that's because for some reason the Xbox and GameCube versions of the game receive a completely different box art for the Japanese release that does not feature Crunch and only has different renders of Crash and Coco. Also, the game is called Crash Bandicoot 4 in Japan. Remember this. When I was doing research on this particular Crash game, I found a lot of interesting facts, like how the PlayStation 2 version has a prototype built dated September 11, 2001. No fucking way. And the GameCube version has a prototype built dated December 17, 2001. Literally 4 days before December 21st, 2001. But you know what else I discovered? The Aku Aku Crave uses his Japanese artwork as opposed to his American artwork. In fact, there is an unused version that depicts him using his in-game model. And also, in the game's instruction manual, it uses a Japanese render of Coco as opposed to her American render. After a quick commercial break, we'll be right back.
अरे छुट्टियों के दिन है मस्तियों के दिन है मैकडॉनल्ड्स चलकर मॉल जुड़ाए चलकर हैप्पी मील खाए मजे मजे के क्रैश बैंडिकूट साथ लाए दोस्तों को साथ खिलाए कूदे और गाए अरे छुट्टियों के दिन है
Meet Crash Tag Team Racing, one of a few games that went beyond just changing Crash's appearance in the box art. This affected the game's title screen, the loading screen, and even Crash's in-game model and icon. But only Crash himself, because for some reason the other characters were unaffected by this. I haven't mentioned it, but I just noticed something really weird. Japanese Crash used to look a bit skinny during the earliest days of the franchise, but over time he eventually became incredibly oversized, especially for the head. Another thing that I haven't mentioned is that for Crash Twinsanity, which is referred as the fifth game in Japan, Japanese Crash has more details on his jeans and he wears different sneakers. I'm bringing this up because for some reason they decided to ditch it in favor for the regular Japanese Crash. Next up is Crash Boom Bang, often regarded as the worst game of the entire franchise. So, have you noticed how the characters look more like how they do in the Japanese marketing rather than their normal selves? Well, that's actually because this game was developed in Japan. As a result, the characters clearly take their appearances from the Japanese marketing as opposed to the regular North American designs. But, much like when Tag Team Racing, Crash's in-game model was changed so that he would be depicted with his Twinsanity appearance. And once again, only Crash himself. All the other characters remain unaltered. And yes, that even includes the weird anthropomorphic Bura. I don't know why the other characters were unaltered because Crash just ended up sticking like a sore thumb for having his regular design while everyone else has their Japanese designs. But then again, what can I expect from a shitty game like Boom Bang? Interestingly, neither Crash of the Titans nor Crash Minor Mutant were released in Japan. This is because both of these games gave the characters punk redesigns. And let's just say that the fans aren't too kind with these designs for obvious reasons. This means that the franchise went on a much bigger hiatus in Japan than what we had internationally, but after years of being abandoned, the franchise returned with remakes of the original trilogy and Crash Team Racing. The bots are for the N-Sane trilogy and Nitro's Fuel remain the same in Japan, with only one difference. Exactly, Crash Bandicoot himself. And once again, only Crash himself. Everyone else was left unaltered. And just why? This area of regional differences just drives me insane. Get it? But in all seriousness, I don't get why Crash is the only one that had his appearance changed. He just ends it as sticky like a sore thumb compared to everyone else. After the new remakes, we finally got a brand new game in the form of It's About Time. Notably, the characters receive redesigns, which begs the question, what is Japan gonna do for the bots art? They basically left it as it is in international countries, except for one minor change. Can you guess what is it? Exactly! Crash and Coco now have 5 fingers. Trust me, I actually had a hard time figuring it out the difference between the Japanese and international cover. However, this game brought up an issue. You see, the RAM for Cortex was referred as Crash Bandicoot 4 in Japan, and then Twinsanity was referred as Crash Bandicoot 5. But It's About Time now refers itself as the new Crash Bandicoot 4, but for some reason Japan left it as it is with the number 4, which means that if you live in Japan, there's 2 Crash Bandicoots 4s. Sure, we had Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back and Crash Bandicoot 2 Entrance, but I'm specifically referring to a game that was referred as the 4th installment in one region, but then we later got another one that is referred as the 4th game internationally, including in one specific country where another game was referred as the 4th installment, and can you basically see how confusing this is? Anyways, outside of adding in an extra finger, It's About Time marks the very first time that Crash was left unaltered for the Japanese marketing, which brings me into one interesting question. Is Japanese Crash officially retired? You see, for these past years, Kirby is now depicted all happy and joyful in the international versions of his boxers, which seems to showcase that he's no longer meant to be super badass and instead just having a fun time being all cute and happy. But would this be the case with Crash Bandicoot when it comes to the Japanese marketing? Well, the answer is a bit complicated to say the least because the only 2 games that Crash has gotten these past years are Crash on the Run and Crash Team Rumble. So it really just depends on whether he's gonna receive a brand new mainline platformer title. But if I had to answer this question, I would go with yes, because I think Crash's new design perfectly captures both looking cartoony while not being too aggressive for the Japanese marketing. I'm sure there's some fans that don't like the new designs, but I'm one of those people that thinks it looks pretty good, and that's coming from someone that has never played a Crash Bandicoot game. Plus, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I don't really like Crash's Japanese design. Like, the giant eyes just doesn't make him look cute nor Coco. It ends up making them look rather uncanny and pretty creepy if you ask me. Oh, but don't even get me started on how it looks in costume form in those commercials, where you got this giant-headed Crash making these super disturbingly creepy expressions. Oh, and then you got this bizarre ad with a girl in a bikini promoting Crash Nitro cards. What the hell, Japan? Well, that's it for today's history lesson. Japan loves things that are super cute and adorable, while America loves things that are hardcore and edgy looking. But what are your thoughts on the whole American Kirby's hardcore trope when it comes to marketing different pieces of media in different regions? Feel free to tell me that in the comment section. You can also like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!